What happens when a group of friends finds a mysterious book written by an unknown girl that foretells terrifying events on the night of Halloween? Tales of terrifying events are good as long as it does not happen to oneself. But what happens if it starts to occur, just like it is written in the book? It is autumn in 1968 in a small town called Mill Valley, Pennsylvania. It is also the day of Halloween. Some are busy decorating for Halloween while others are planning to scare kids at night. Stella Nichols, a teen girl, decides to stay in on the night of Halloween. She serves food to her father Roy and lies on her bed. Through a walkie-talkie, Stella's friends try to convince her to join them in trick or treat, but she is not in the mood to go hang out with them. On the other side of the walkie-talkie are Chuck Steinberg and Augie Hildebrandt, Stella's friends. When Ramon Morales is leaning against his car at a gas station, a boy on the cycle hands him a pamphlet. 3 teens are punching and hitting a scarecrow named Harold. One of them is Tommy Milner. When the boys are about to leave, worms come out of the scarecrow's face, which makes one of the teens hit on it with their baseball bat. They get into their car and leave. Chuck wished to be Spider-Man, but his mother got the costume ride. Augie is dressed as a pirate but instead looks like a clown. The duo gets on their cycle and head to Stella's house. Stella decides to dress as a witch. The trio reunites. They aim to prank a bully named Tommy Milner, as he had a past record of stealing candy. This time, Chuck placed human excretion instead of the candies in hopes that Tommy steals the bag from his hand, only to get the excretion instead of the candy. While the trio is walking and hoping for Tommy to show up, Chuck spots his car and asks his friends to act normal. Inside the car, Chuck's sister Ruth is upset with Tommy, as he had promised the girl out for dinner but is instead stuck with his friends. One of Tommy's friends gets a hold of Chuck's bag, which was filled with candies, but when he smells something peculiar, they realize it includes the undies of men inside it. Quickly, Tommy hits the brakes and starts to follow the trio. Before running away, they throw eggs on the car and light up the human excretion and throw it on Tommy's lap. Not having control over the car, they crash into a nearby fence. In anger and retaliation, Tommy and his gang follow them. Stella, Chuck, and Augie pass through trees and enter a drive-in cinema. There, they enter Ramon's car to hide from them. He gets scared of the intruders inside the car and tries to push them off the car, but Stella promises to leave after Tommy and his gang leave the area. When they see Tommy pass from the car, they sigh in relief. While Ramon and Stella talk, Chuck and Augie realize that Ramon has a crush on their friend, but before they can say anything, Tommy spots them and asks them to come out of the car with their baseball bat. They ignore their gang and continue to watch movies, but when Tommy threatens to get them out forcefully, Ramon threatens them. A man, who is the chief and is known as Chief Turner, orders the boys to leave the premises immediately. Before leaving, Tommy threatens everyone. Stella gets triggered as her mother had left her alone with her father when she was young. They all, along with Ramon, decide to go and explore a local haunted house that belonged to a wealthy family called the Bellows in the 19th century. The family was the one who had helped found Mill Valley. Stella finds a gap in the fence and they decide to get inside through it. Augie is not happy to visit the house, as it was believed someone was murdered inside it. They successfully break the lock and head inside the house. While looking around, Stella shares about Sarah, who was a daughter of the Bellows, and how she was not allowed to leave the house and was disowned by the family. She was not even a part of the family portraits, and to date, nobody knows how she looked. When Chuck scares Augie, they both run upstairs with Augie behind Chuck. Upstairs, Stella continues the stories she had heard of Sarah being accused of witchcraft and how the town's children mysteriously started to die soon after. When they tried to capture her, they found Sarah's body hanging. She had committed to eternal sleep. Inside the kitchen, Stella and Ramon find a hidden door. Upon entering inside it, they find another hidden door, but with a lock now. When they enter, Stella instantly knows it was Sarah's room. Chuck opens a door where he finds an old woman and her dog in a room that looks absolutely new. Before the woman could turn and look at Chuck, he hurriedly closes the door, but it opens up, which startles him. It was Augie who opened the door. Chuck is shocked when he could not see the old woman and the dog in the room. All reunite and Stella finds Sarah's book. Tommy locks the door and pushes Ruth inside too when she offers to help the group. Tommy walks away. While Augie tries to find a way to leave the room, Stella reads the book. They all escape and Stella takes the book along. When Ramon's car does not work, Stella offers him to stay at her place for the night. Ramon agrees. They reach her house and Stella helps Ramon in settling down. After Ramon leaves, Stella starts to read the book again, where she discovers a new story titled Harold. Tommy returns home intoxicated. He is ordered by his mother to deliver eggs this instant, and so he starts to head inside the cornfield. When he returns with the eggs, he is stalked by Harold, the family's scarecrow, who suddenly comes to life. Stella simultaneously reads about it in the book. While Tommy is running away, Harold stabs him with a pitchfork, which causes Tommy to start puking hay after calling for help. He then undergoes a violent transformation. The next morning, Tommy is reported missing. A policeman visits Ramon to investigate Tommy's disappearance. Stella, Chuck, and Augie meet at an empty theater where they read Sarah's book. Stella tries to tell her friends about the chapter appearing suddenly and how Tommy did not come to school. After school, Stella and Ramon head towards the cornfield while she explains how Tommy did not show up and has suddenly disappeared. They walk towards a scarecrow and see Harold wearing Tommy's clothes. Stella is now convinced that it is Tommy who has been turned into a scarecrow. She plans to return the book back, and so before she gets home, she pays a visit to the haunted house and respectfully places the book. Roy is convinced when Stella reaches home late and asks her to come home as soon as school gets over. Stella agrees. At night, after cooking a meal for herself and Ramon, she enters the room only to find the same book in Ramon's hand. This scares her and asks where he got the book from. Ramon tells her that he had found the book on her bookshelf, but she does not believe him. She opens the book and finds a new story being written by itself. The new story is titled The Big Toe. When she reads it, she learns that Augie is now the main character. She quickly informs Augie through the walkie-talkie and tells him that the story is about a corpse that is searching for its missing toe, which is inside the stew that Augie is eating, unaware of it. Augie is in the kitchen. Ramon and Stella take chances to narrate the story that is written by itself, but Augie pays no heed. He thinks his friends are playing a prank on him, but starts to believe them when he finds a toe in his stew. He is now terrified and hears voices inside his house. He runs and decides to hide in his bedroom and hides under his bed when he feels the knob of the door move. Suddenly, he pulls him under the bed and he disappears. Stella blames herself, and she was the one who decided to bring the book home. She also blames herself for her mom leaving, but Ramon tries to talk her out of it. Chuck along with Ruth joins the duo. They tell Chuck and Ruth about the book and how they saw it write the whole story. Ruth thinks they are joking around. When Chuck learns of Augie's disappearance, he suggests going to the police and confessing, but Ramon talks him out of it, saying they would never believe them. Ruth goes away after thinking it's all a prank. Chuck, Stella, and Ramon decide to burn the book, but realize it is impossible to do so. Having no option, they decide to research Sarah's past. While looking into her life, they learn that Sarah had put herself to eternal sleep in 1898, and within a year, all the family members disappeared. Nobody knows how and where they were. Stella realizes that every family member had a story in the book. For example, her father Dio had his own story, one of the sons Ephraim had his own story, and so on. While conversing, a new story started to write itself with the title The Red Spot. As soon as Stella reads the title, she sees a red spot on Chuck's t-shirt and thinks it's him, but when she further reads the chapter, it talks about a young girl and how a spider has bitten her cheek. They then see the word Ruth and know it's Chuck's sister and not him. They rush to help her. Ruth is in front of the mirror. She is all ready for her musical, but is not so happy with what she thinks is it. Everybody around her tells her that she has to do something about it. She runs away with a tissue on the bite and enters the bathroom. She is all alone. When she tries to get rid of it, the swollen spider bite explodes and releases hundreds of tiny spiders from her face. Stella, Chuck, and Ramon reach the school in time and find her in the bathroom with many spiders around her. Ramon uses his jacket and tries to get rid of the spiders on her body, but nothing happens. Chuck brings a bucket of water and throws it at Ruth. She is rescued but is traumatized by what just happened. Stella spots a silhouette of a woman in the mirror before the lights of the bathroom are turned back on. While Ruth is taken to the hospital in an ambulance, Stella shares what she saw in the bathroom. Chuck believes they are next. The next morning, they find a name, Louise Baptiste, Lulu for short, and her address. They reach 220 Gulcher Road and ring Louise's bell. Chuck shares about his nightmares where he was locked in a red room and there was this pale lady who kept whispering, "This is an evil place, run while you still can." Before Stella or Ramon could talk, the door opens. It is Louise Baptiste's daughter who opens the door for them. She shuts the TV while inviting the trio inside and calls for her mother. They find a music box and the music starts to play. Louise says Sarah would love that song and how they could be next. Stella then hands the book to Louise and tells them of no magic presents, and how it is only Sarah's rage that made things happen till now. When Stella asks how Sarah would write the stories, Louise says it is Stella's fault and she had taken the book, which angered Sarah. She is also about to say something, but her daughter pushes them out of the house, but not before telling them about a local hospital where they could find some information. On reaching the hospital, they lie to get Sarah's patient records, and the reception tells them to go to the red room where the records are placed. Chuck is scared because his nightmare consists of a red room. Stella and Ramon head towards the room while Chuck waits outside. In the records, it was mentioned that Sarah was suffering from acromegalia albinism and how she was kept in isolation in the basement. On further search, they find a wax cylinder and place it on the gramophone. It consists of the conversations between a man and Sarah herself. The man was her brother. He asked whether Sarah was behind the elimination of the youngsters, but she answered in negative, which resulted in him performing electroshock therapy on her. Instead, she said she tried to save them. The electroshock therapy was a cover-up for the doings of the whole family. The family's mill had been corrupting the water of the town with mercury, which led to the death of the youngsters of the town. They hoped to get a false confession from Sarah after eliminating the youngsters. The woman then suddenly starts to narrate the story of Chuck and his nightmare of the pale lady and the red room. The book starts to write the story too. Chuck starts to hear the woman's voice. He is all alone in a corridor when the lights turn red. At the end of the corridor, he saw the pale lady who attacked him and absorbed him. Stella and Ramon try to find Chuck before the pale lady, but the efforts seem pointless as it is too late. Stella finds Chuck's pen and knows he disappeared. Stella calls her father from the police station and tells her that if she ever went missing, she did not leave like her mother and that she would always love him no matter what. Ramon and Stella are arrested for trespassing. They confess about the book and the disappearance behind it, but Police Chief Turner does not believe him. He also reveals how Ramon is a Vietnam War draft dodger and that Stella could leave, but she decides to stay with Ramon. Inside the jail, Ramon confesses he ran away out of fear after he received his brother's lifeless body, which was in pieces. In the middle of the night, the book writes a new story titled Me Tido Tai Walker, and the main character is Ramon. When Turner tries to erase it, the lights flicker and then goes out. Trigger. The dog barks while staring at a corner. Ramon realizes it is Jangly Man who is going to eliminate him, as he was scared of the story when he was young. A man's face falls from the fireplace, followed by parts of the body. Turner attacks Jangly Man but is eliminated while Stella and Ramon get their hands on the keys of the prison and escape. Ramon asks Stella to go to the house before he promises to come back. Jangly Man gets stuck between the police car and a fire brigade. After knowing they bought time, Ramon too heads to the Bellows mansion. Stella enters the house and starts to yell. She says she knew it was not Sarah who had eliminated the youngsters but her family's mill. She is taken back in time. She lives Sarah's experience of torture. Louise saves her when they face each other but is punished by Sarah's father. When Ramon enters the house, he finds the book with the new title The Haunted House. The character is Stella this time. Jangly Man sets himself free and starts to find Ramon inside the mansion. Stella is found by Sarah's brother from under the table and grabs her by her hair. She tried to escape but could not. Ramon can hear Stella's screams and starts to follow it. Stella is kept in Sarah's room with the lights off. When she feels someone's presence, she backs off but a book falls into her lap. She comes face to face with Sarah. From a distance, she could hear Ramon's voice that tells her to tell the truth, but she declines. She confronts Sarah and tells her that she was a victim turned monster, and how she had taken 2 of her best friends from her. Ramon is attacked by Jangly Man. Stella suggests that she would tell the truth if Sarah stops her rage of hurting innocent people. Sarah hands her a pen and Stella writes down the true story in blood. After she completes, Sarah, Jangly Man, and all the monsters vanish. Stella and Ramon reunite. Stella also writes the true story of Sarah in the papers that believed her while others criticized her. Ramon accepts his enlistment and Stella goes to meet him. She hands him a letter and promises to write one every day. Ramon leaves for the war. Ruth is recovered and she, along with Stella, head out to find a way to rescue Chuck and Augie.